If what Hugh Freeze says is true, this offense could be even scarier than we think.
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie Five, and we are ready to get after it. Practice yesterday was closed to the media, but Hugh gave a press conference after the fact and said a lot of interesting things, including something about two wide receivers that if it pans out the way he says it, that offense could be even more scary than we believe. Also, the offensive line is set, and it's way deeper than just the front five. We'll talk about that. And then we're having a scrimmage Friday, and we'll talk about expectations for that as well. But before we get started, let's give a quick shout-out to Rhoback.com. Use coupon code BARN20 to take 20% off your order. Polos, hoodies, pullovers, whatever you can imagine, they got it. They even have shorts and pants as well. So go on there, fall in love with all the crazy prints. I love every one of them, man. I have so many of those already. So they look good. They feel good. Save big. It's Rhoback.com. Like I said, Hugh spoke to the media yesterday for a pretty substantial amount of time. And as Hugh always does, he's very, very open with the media, sometimes to a fault. But he was asked specifically about guys from last year that maybe played some, but didn't play as much. Who's made the biggest jumps, I guess. Guys from last year that played sparingly, that could make a huge impact. And without hesitation, he mentioned Malcolm and Perry. And Perry has been a theme throughout fall camp. And Malcolm, obviously, there's been talk of him in other areas, but obviously he is still going to be a big part of this offense as well. And in specific, what he mentioned is they're learning essentially how to run routes. They're learning how to play a wide receiver at this level. They're learning all of the little things, how to shave off routes, how to stem defenders, how to understand coverages that make you at this level a complete wide receiver. There are so many people, especially last year, that know football, know better, that say a lot of things like, you got to get Malcolm the ball. You got to get Perry the ball. You got to get insert person the ball, as if it's as easy as a turnaround and handoff to a running back. And there's so much that goes into being a wide receiver, especially as defenses evolve, as offenses evolve, that it's so much deeper than just go out there and run a post route, go out there and run a dig route. There's decisions to be made. A lot of the routes you have options on how you run that particular route, as far as the depth, as far as how steep of an angle you cut off on, insert what type of route that you're running. You can run a completely different route depending on what the coverage is. There was a lot of times last year where it seemed like it was Malcolm in particular, because Malcolm played more than Perry. But I can't remember this specific game, but I can remember an interception at some point in time where Hugh was basically saying that Peyton expected Malcolm to be doing this, which he should have been doing, and Malcolm did something else, and it caused a late throw, or it caused a throw to an area that was expected that Malcolm would be there, and he was not. And that just goes along with, hey, I'm trying to get this ultra talented kid into the game, but he's just maybe not all the way there mentally, maybe not all the way there as far as understanding the offense. And we heard that multiple times last year. So to think about when you just really think about their physical attributes, their measurables, their speed, their athleticism, when you think about that, it's they're as good as anybody in the country. And I'm talking specifically about Perry and Malcolm. Like, they got everything you want as far as tools go. They got the size, they got the speed, they got the athletic ability, they got the hands. Check, 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 check. Okay. Now, how do you take that and turn it into a wide receiver? How do you take that and get it to the level where they can play wide receiver at a very high level mentally and not just physically? We talked about Perry a couple of days ago. You just didn't play in an offense that in high school that really challenged you, I guess, between the years. It was you're the best player on the field. Just throw him the ball behind the line of scrimmage, throw him the ball deep. He's just better than everybody else. And that athleticism is still better than a lot of college players too. But as a whole, you're still going to have to be a lot more mature on the field, understanding the playbook, understanding their defense, understanding how to manipulate the defense, understanding, how your quarterback needs you to be, understanding where he needs you to be. It's so much deeper. And sometimes there's guys, it doesn't even matter what classification. If they are in a program that is a little bit more high level offense, I think that's why Cam, it was so easy for him to transition to the college game. And had he not had, a couple of banged up injuries, he probably could have had an even bigger season. But sometimes these guys it could even be a big school, but if you don't have, a really collegiate level or an offense that kind of at least can transition over to college football a lot easier, terminology-wise, scheme-wise, complexity-wise. Level of competition doesn't even really matter as far as transition. Sometimes it's just, hey, understanding the offense. This is similar to what I did in high school. Think about this. Think about how scary the offense becomes when those guys stop thinking. Think about how scary the offense could be when guys like Perry Thompson not only knows I can beat this guy physically, but I know this play is set up just like this play called is set up just like we practiced on Tuesday. I know exactly how to manipulate this route to where I'm going to be wide open. And it's not, and it's going through his head a lot quicker than me just explaining it over the last 15 or 20 seconds. At 6'3", 225 pounds. And then Malcolm, who has some of the most elite change of direction speed and stop and get back up to full speed than maybe anybody in the country. When he can look across and say, okay, you're exactly where I need you to be. You're exactly where I want you. I'm about to set you up just like I've learned. And the ball's going to be on me at this point in time. And that's all happening like almost immediately. As soon as they see it, boom, I know what I got to do. I don't have to think. And now I'm just going to use my God-given talent and go undress this guy, go embarrass this guy. The thinking aspect of it, the brain aspect of it, the between the ears, that to me has always been the biggest challenge. It was always going to be the biggest obstacle for these guys. And it seems like they're up to speed. And for Hugh to call them out specifically, like immediately. Those were the first two names that jumped off the page. That's got to get you fired up. That's dangerous. Talk is cheap. Got to see it on the field. But that has been the common theme throughout fall camp. Perry Thompson has been a common theme. And it's not because he runs a 4.3. It's not because he runs 21, clocked at 21.87 miles per hour. It's because he's learning how to be a college wide receiver. And that is should be scary for the rest of the conference and the rest of the country. So we're going to talk about offensive line and the scrimmage here in just a second. We'll be back right after this. So, yeah, definitely let me know what you think about the wide receiver comments in the comments, and we'll chat back and forth. Offensive line. Offensive line was another one that he was asked about, just overall the offensive line and how he feels about the offensive line. And this is probably the first time that I've heard this in a very, very long time. Okay, so everybody knows – you got a starting five, and Auburn's starting five has really been over the last several years has just sort of been you feel good about three of them. And if, maybe one or two could advance or one or two could be good, you could probably have a pretty solid starting five. Okay. And then maybe there have even been times where you feel fairly decent about the starting five, but not beyond that. It's always been, if there's an injury, we're pretty much screwed. I mean, let's just call it what it is. It hasn't been great on the offensive line for quite some time. And Hugh mentioned when he was asked about the starting line, or when he was asked about the offensive line, he didn't say we got our five set. He said we have our he basically said starting six set. The starting five, obviously, and then Xavier Miller. I mean, he's basically telling you that the starting five, based off what we've seen, is going to be the starting five, but he feels like he's got six starters, and he's got seven possibly with the coming on of Dylan Senda. That, Dylan Senda, I don't know if you remember him. He was a guy that I think he may have signed with Harsin. I got to go back and look at the number. He may have signed with Harsin, or he was either with Hugh his first year. He actually signed with Northwestern and then ended up at Auburn, like somehow. So he really came in as a freshman. So he's still very young. He's still only 2 or 3 years into the program. So hearing that you're possibly 7 deep, you got 7 guys that could be considered starters, part of your, starting set. We're getting to levels of offensive line that we're just not quite used to, I think. You'd have to go back 8 to 10 years. And even then, we had some nasty offensive lines under Gus. That 2013 offensive line was really nasty. They started to kind of fade off, and then it became a lot of patchwork stuff. You would get a transfer in, you get somebody like Austin Golson or Jack Driscoll. You'd get some randoms in here or there. And I guess you could say that a little bit about the current offensive line, that obviously you had to utilize the portal. But you feel, I mean, it just, I don't know, it feels like we're sort of getting back to that, or getting closer to those offensive lines to where you just didn't really worry about that. We didn't really talk about offensive line very much for a very long time. I can remember, I mean, gosh, throughout the 2000s, up through even like 2013, 2014, honestly, I wouldn't say we didn't really even start having that offensive line discussion really until maybe after the 2017 season. And I think it was mostly because we couldn't get an offensive tackle out of high school, like ever. And then ever since then, it's always been a pretty critical issue. You know, it's fine between the 20s, but or on non-obvious passing downs. But when things tighten up, or when you got to throw the ball and they know you got to throw the ball, we just struggle. That's why whenever we would get down, there was not a lot of faith you could throw your way back into the game, because there's going to be a sack that, if you have to go, unless you can score quickly on like a big play, it was just going to be really hard to dig yourself out of a hole because the offensive line wasn't there. Not only do you feel like you got a starting 5 now, you feel like maybe you even got a starting 6 or 7. And I know that may sound silly, but what I'm saying is you got at least 7 guys that you feel like could go in at any point in time, and you don't expect a huge drop-off. You got 7 starters, basically. And I think there's even some other guys that are having really good fall camps, that if something were to happen and they had to go in, it's not the end of the world. I think Xavier Miller could play both tackles, okay? Both tackle spots. That's huge. That's huge. So if either one of those guys go out, you have a quality starter level guy that could go in at either side. Dylan Cinda could play any offensive line position on the interior. Center goes out, he could play center. He takes snaps at center. Either one of the guards go out, he could play either one of the guards. This is what, when you're managing your roster at a high level, Auburn's not there yet all the way, but this is getting there. This is really close to having your roster at a level that is at an elite level beyond just those best 22 that run out there on offense and defense. So that's obviously really, really good to hear, that you feel like you got a solid 6 or 7 guys that are at starter level. And what's cool is those 6 or 7 are different positions along the line. So you got a tackle that could play both sides, and you got an interior lineman that can play all of them. I think that's great for flexibility. That's great for, just relieving a little bit of pressure. Hey, maybe you can give a guy a blow in a game with one of these guys. You can load manage a little bit easier as well when you have guys like this. So just all in all, man, it seems like the constant theme is the roster. We're confirming a lot of the things that we thought prior to the season, prior to the camp kicking off. We're starting to confirm a lot of things and see a lot of things confirmed, not only with their play at practice, but also with confirmation from coaches and things like that, man, this offensive line, we're trying to be cautiously optimistic, but it seems like it could be a huge plus for Auburn this year, instead of a crutch or not a crutch, but a handicap, I guess. So that's also good stuff. There hasn't been a true scrimmage yet, okay? And I think that's where you really start to understand where this team is at this point in time. Okay, there's been some 11 on 11. Saturday was a really good 11 on 11. Monday, there was some really good 11 on 11 that was visible, that people actually got to see. Nobody's going to be able to see this in theory. Hopefully we can have some spies. Spies sounds so terrible. Hopefully we can have some folks give us some reports from the scrimmage on Friday. I think Hugh mentioned he wanted to try to get 30 plays out of the ones, which I think is a pretty heavy load. That's basically half of a game. 30 plays from the twos, which is great for development. Again, another about half a game. And the way that they've been, especially the defensive side of the ball, the way they've been rotating guys in getting young guys snaps. He mentioned Bryce Diaz and Xavier Debo Atkins specifically yesterday as, guys that are standing out, because Durkin's rotating even some young guys in with the quote unquote ones, just mixing and matching, getting dudes really good opportunities and experience. The two's getting the two's getting 30 plays. That's big. And then he said he wanted to get the threes about 20 plays. So everybody's going to get some action. And again, there's going to be some reports. There's going to be some folks there that are going to share what they see. I'm sure Hugh's going to talk about some of the stuff as well. So that's going to be big, I think. That's going to tell us a lot. I expect the defense to be a little bit still ahead of the offense. I think the defense is good, man. And it's just a lot harder for the offense, in my opinion, especially early in camp, to really be able to get out there and carve up a defense that knows all your plays. You know what I mean? Like they know all your plays. So that's obviously tougher. But want to see consistency. I want to continue to hear that Jackson's doing the things, getting the ball out quick, not turning the ball over, moving the chains, that running game. I want to keep hearing that part of the game is excelling, because I thought it would be a weakness, and it seems like it's definitely not going to be a weakness, and who knows what if it could be a strength. Jeremiah Cobb, the non-contact jersey's off. That's huge. This is going to be his first real contact. See him do more things, hopefully get some more opportunities, because I still think he has I don't think it's that outlandish to say he probably has the highest ceiling. I think he's the most athletic of the running backs, and he can be the biggest explosive play guy out of that backfield. But I want to hear about my boy Omar too. Crushing souls at 17 years old. I love it. A lot of good stuff, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think about the offensive line. Are you nervous? Are you starting to gain confidence there? And then let me know what you think about Malcolm and Perry and all the strides that they've made. If you've been in the comments at all, I pretty much respond to as many, if not all, that I possibly can. And hey, I may even put the comment on the show. I've only done it once, and it was not positive, but it was fun. So, guys, thanks for listening. We'll be back again soon. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay button.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.